My name is Dr. John Keller. I've worked with older men for over 40 years. Veterans, farmers, steelworkers, men who've built this country with their hands. I've seen strength, I've seen resilience, and I've also seen what silent shame does to that strength. Last fall, a 74-year-old man was found slumped over in his recliner chair, TV still glowing, remote still in his hand, a plate of untouched food on the tray beside him, 3 days before anyone even noticed. No stroke, no heart attack, no suicide note. His organs had simply stopped trying. I call it a silent hormonal collapse, a biological shutdown that creeps in unnoticed while you're still walking, talking, living. Until one day, your body simply says, that's enough. What's terrifying is, this isn't rare. It's happening every day to good men who did everything right. They worked hard, raised families, retired with honor, and yet, somewhere in the silence of retirement, their bodies started to disappear from the inside out. Here's what nobody talks about. Most men after 60 stop touching themselves. They think it's the mature thing to do, the respectable thing to do, the safe thing to do. But what if I told you that exact habit may be erasing your very identity as a man? There's one small act most men abandon after 60, and it might be the very thing keeping your brain sharp, your heart active, and your masculine chemistry alive. Stick with me, because I'm about to show you 4 true stories of older men who were falling apart quietly until we discovered the hidden pattern. And it all began with what I call prostate lockdown. Robert was 71, retired Air Force mechanic, lived alone in a small house in Ohio. Tough guy, had hands like sandpaper and stories that could make you laugh or cry for hours. He came to my clinic after noticing something he hadn't talked to anyone about. I haven't had a morning erection in over 2 years, he whispered. To most people, that might sound trivial, but to me, that was the first emergency light. See, your morning erection isn't about sex. It's about circulation and oxygenation in your penile tissue. Testosterone spikes in the early morning, telling your brain, blood vessels, and nerves, we're still alive, we still fight. When that stops, it's like your body is waving a white flag. In Robert's case, his testosterone had dropped below 250 nanograms per deciliter, borderline castration level. His nocturnal oxygenation was poor, nerve conduction, sluggish. But we didn't panic. I gave him a 90-second morning routine to reactivate his hormonal pulse. Within 6 weeks, he called me back and said, "Doc, it's back." I didn't realize how much I missed waking up feeling like a man. Just because something stops doesn't mean it can't start again. Mike was 67, former steelworker from Pittsburgh. He walked with a limp and had that steelworker stubbornness. Never saw a doctor unless he was bleeding. He came in complaining about a dull ache when sitting. Thought it was sciatica. But when we dug deeper, he admitted something strange. Feels like pressure down there. Especially when I skip a few weeks, of release. What Mike was describing is something rarely spoken about. Prostatic congestion. See, the prostate isn't just a gland. It's a muscular organ. It fills, it stores, and it needs to release. When older men suppress that natural function, either out of shame, boredom, or just forgetting, it starts to swell. A Harvard study even showed that men who ejaculate less than 4 times a month after 60 have a significantly higher risk of prostate calcification and discomfort. We coached Mike through a simple frequency strategy. Nothing excessive, just natural rhythm. 2 months later, his pelvic pain was gone. He looked at me and laughed. Never thought I'd be 67 and hear a doctor tell me I need to finish more often. Me neither, Mike. But biology doesn't care about shame. James was 69, retired firefighter, tough as nails, saved lives, carried burning kids out of homes. But when he came into my office, he looked like a ghost of himself. "Doc, I can't feel joy, can't feel anger. I just float." He hadn't had intimacy, solo or otherwise, in nearly 5 years. Said he grew out of it. But what he didn't realize was his dopamine and testosterone had both cratered. And when those drop, your emotional range collapses. You stop caring, stop connecting. Even your sense of identity begins to dissolve. In men, testosterone isn't just about libido. It's about vitality, decision-making, drive, and even memory recall. We worked with James on a full hormonal reset, light resistance training, sunlight in the morning, and yes, private touch without shame. Within a week, he called me. "Doc, I walked past a bakery and actually smelled the bread. I almost cried. I didn't realize how numb I'd become. Biology is mood, and mood is life." Now here's the darkest one, the one most doctors are too uncomfortable to talk about. When older men stop engaging with their bodies, sexually, physically, emotionally, they begin to disappear, first from their relationships, then from their family, finally from themselves. I saw it with Harold, 73rd, retired farmer from Kansas, hardworking, proud, but lately paranoid. His wife said he avoided eye contact. His daughter said he rarely hugged the grandkids. And when I finally asked him, "Do you still take time to connect with yourself?" he said, "Doc, I feel ashamed just thinking about it." Shame. That's the virus no antibiotic can cure. When a man suppresses natural desire, not out of discipline but guilt, his oxytocin levels crash. And oxytocin is the glue of human connection. Without it, you feel fake, like you're just acting alive. We worked with Harold to remove the guilt, not the behavior. We reframed it, not as lust, but as maintenance, connection, survival. And something amazing happened. He hugged his daughter the next time she visited. He kissed his wife and actually meant it. And he cried in my office and said, "I thought I was dead inside, but I was just starving." These aren't just stories, they're warning signs. Your body isn't trying to embarrass you, it's trying to save you. Up next is the breakthrough, where we flip the shame on its head and show you how to reclaim your masculine chemistry, not with pills, but with identity. If you're still here, you felt something. Maybe it was the story of Robert waking up with that spark again. Maybe it was James crying because he could smell bread for the first time in years. Or maybe it was Harold, the proud farmer who thought he was dead inside, but was really just starved of connection. Let me tell you something I've learned in 40 years as a doctor working with older men. This isn't about lust, it's about life. What you do in the privacy of your own room, that little moment you thought you outgrew. That's not weakness. That's your nervous system checking in with your soul. That's your blood still flowing. That's your testosterone whispering, "I'm still here." And when you shut that down, not because you wanted to, but because the world told you it was unmanly, dirty, or pathetic, you don't just lose sensation, you lose your compass. I don't care if you're 60 or 90. Your body is still listening, your biology hasn't retired, and your identity as a man doesn't disappear just because society forgets about it. So here's what I want you to do right now. If you've ever felt like James, numb, if you've ever felt like Mike, hurting but confused, if you've ever felt like Harold, ashamed to feel like a man again, type the number 1 in the comments, not for me, not for the algorithm, but as a signal to other men who are silently suffering in silence that they are not broken, they are not alone, they are not done. And if you haven't felt that pain, if you're still in touch with yourself and feeling strong, then type a 0 point. And be grateful. You are one of the lucky ones. But don't keep this video to yourself. Send it to that one man who always seems tired, that brother-in-law who lost his spark after retirement, that neighbor who never talks much anymore. Because one video, one story, one honest moment can bring a man back to feeling, back to purpose, back to himself, and maybe, just maybe, save a life. I'm Dr. John Keller. This isn't a medical issue, it's a human one, and every man deserves to feel like himself again. Like, share, and subscribe if you believe older men deserve better than silence, shame, and slow disappearance. Let's start a conversation no one else is willing to have.